It's news time. Information is power. Be current. The news headline: Gani to Buhari effects release of Sunday Igboho Kanu from detention. Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba land, Gani Adams, has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to release Yoruba self-determination activist Mr. Sunday Adeyemo, popularly called Sunday Igboho. We remember that Sunday Igboho has been in detention in Benin Republic, saying the activist was only fighting for the rights of Yoruba people and committed no crime to warrant the treatment he was being subjected to. Adams, who also demanded the leader of the Independent People of Biafra, IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who is also standing trial in the country and in detention currently be released by President Muhammadu Buhari, positing that both Igboho and Kanu were fighting for the rights of their people, but in different ways. This was just as he reiterated that the country must be restructured urgently into regionalism before the 2023 elections, saying that Nigeria needed to be rescued from breakup, as according to him, the country is surviving on oxygen, just like a patient who is sick and about to die. The Yoruba Generalissimo made the call on Thursday at a press conference he addressed at his Lagos residence as part of programs organized to mark his first anniversary as the 15th Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba land. Reeling out activities to mark his first anniversary in office, Adams, who was installed as the 15th Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò on January 13, 2018, said there will be Juma service on Friday, interfaith prayers on Saturday, and also a Thanksgiving service at the Cherubim and Seraphim Church, Alausa Ikeja, Sunday to commemorate this anniversary. Adams, who spoke at the conference attended by his chiefs, including Chief Gboyega Adejumo, Chief Gani Kola, Barrister Yinka, and also Chief Abiola Anyokumbi, Chief Babajide Tanimowo, maintaining that the duo was not pursuing personal interests but that of their people and should therefore be set free by President Muhammadu Buhari. I am using this opportunity to call on the government to effect the release of not only Sunday Igboho alone, it should also release Nnamdi Kanu. The two of them are fighting for the same cause, he said. I call on President Muhammadu Buhari to release Sunday Igboho and he should also release Kanu, he reiterated. Gani Adams, while speaking on moves being made to get Igboho released from detention in Benin Republic, recalled that he had since rallied the Yoruba Obas in the West African country to demand just that, saying that the monarchs had ensured that by approaching the presidency, the parliament and judiciary in the land with a letter stating that the activist was their son, who committed no offense to warrant treatment being meted to him currently. According to the Yoruba Generalissimo, the monarchs are still pursuing the release of Igboho from detention in Benin Republic. They have taken steps, as I called on Yoruba Obas in Benin Republic, and they held a meeting and said that Igboho is their son, that he did nothing wrong and should be released. They wrote a letter to the presidency, the country's judicial, the parliament, amongst others. Even up to now, they are still working on his release. Adams, while demanding the country should be restructured to the regional system of government, posited that it was the only way out of the country to halt secessionist move and save her from disintegration, even as he asserted that regionalism would advance the country's progress and development as witnessed in the old western region under the sage chief Obafemi Awolowo. He said that restructuring the country could be achieved within the period of a year and 4 months left for President Muhammadu Buhari to serve his remaining term in office, adding that a fine document prepared by our political founding fathers, which was highly discussed and agreed upon the political players, which brought us the 1963 Constitution. This bad since the war, and although President Muhammadu Buhari was elected to deal with the problem of insurgency in the northeast, his regime was added the nefarious activities of herdsmen and now bandits, who have not only made life brutally short and unbearable for most rural communities, especially farmers who have abandoned their farms, which has led to the threat of food scarcity and hunger in the country. The Nigerians are paying such humongous price on account of corruption in the public service in a government that promised to stamp it out is a monumental indictment of President Muhammadu Buhari and his legitimacy for the office. The paradox is that for every extra kobo that goes into fictitious projects and salaries, there is a corresponding denial of public-oriented spending to improve people's lives. Also, such increase in recurrent spending is directly responsible for the unending borrowing by this government to fund its acclaimed infrastructure development in a situation that mortgages the future of the country and the next generation. Consequently, the reason we are borrowing is not entirely because there is no money, as government has consistently maintained, but because its employees are siphoning the money into their private pockets at the expense of the generality of Nigerians. The obvious implication of this development is that the current anti-corruption strategy is defective and inappropriate, thinking that the main culprits in corruption are the political office holders. This view featured heavily in Buhari's approach in dealing with members of the Second Republic political class. But it is simply untenable because the political class does not have accounting powers, which belongs to the career civil servants. So it is financially impossible for the politicians to steal money from government coffers without the active involvement and collusion of the bureaucrats themselves. Also, for a minister or commissioner to steal a dime, the bureaucrat must be involved. Entire budgets of the country through the manners of expenditure. They also prepare the budget. Therefore, we have to revise and change the approach and train searchlights more on the public servants to actually get to the root of the matter. And also, focusing on the few political office holders is a waste of time and resources, which has been proved by the failure of this government to stamp out corruption in the country, and there is need to digitalize government processes to reduce human interference which ultimately conduces for corruption. But most importantly, government must improve the remuneration of public servants to motivate them and discourage corrupt practices. However, it is necessary to properly determine the right workforce in the country. And this evidence from the COVID-19 measures, which has kept level 1 to level 13 workers, constituting over 85% of the personnel at home for over a year, and shows that most of them are not really needed. And this is the reason why it is better for the government to focus more on how to further ensure that the civil workers are actually, given much more support so that they can be motivated, and therefore, the practices of the corrupt practices would actually be extremely minimal, if not stopped entirely. And this would help us to ensure that the root of corruption is actually destroyed. Thanks for listening.